What's going on YouTube? It's Io Richie here and I'm back with another video. In this video I just want to talk about basically where I'm at with Leo in Tekken 8. It's been 6 months. I've had a lot of time with the character, gone through a few changes. A lot of you will remember when back when 1+2 was safe and insanely spammable, moves still being good of course. Obviously in the pre-Tekken 8 showcase at Red Bull, Leo still had 1-4. Obviously we knew in the trailer that would be changed. We found out what 1-4 was about when the game came out, how minus it was on block, and now I feel like we're at a point where we understand very much that 1-4 is a good punish, but you can't just throw it out in the open because the reward is just not worth it. You might be able to knowledge check a few people sometimes if they try and jab or go for a slow mid or whatever. In the end, it's not worth it because you don't know what your opponent's going to retaliate with, and it's an easy OS. It's been an interesting journey so far. I feel like at first I was trying to run my usual down one. I don't even know what my usual Tekken 7 game was because most of the time I'm just playing to the time and playing very slow, right? People know that I play a pretty slow game in Tekken 7. And then obviously I had to transition over to Tekken 8 where the game is so much faster, especially depending on what characters you're playing against. You're forced into so many more situations where you can't just backdash away. You have to, face mix-ups or at the bare minimum, Kempo or evasive moves to get away. Things like down back 3, forward 2+3. These moves will come in pretty handy in a game like Tekken 8 where the game is so fast-paced and everyone's pressing. But in the end, Leo is not one of these aggressive characters. There will be times where people get a big reward for being defensive against your evasive moves. So even though they're playing aggressive characters, kind of have to have a stubbornness now with Leo that you need to stay patient, get rewarded so heavily for being patient with this character. Kempo rewards you so much because it's obviously not an attack. You are just backing off. They have to call that out. When I say Kempo, I mean Leo's back 3+4, the back step. If you are utilizing that a lot, your opponent then has to try and make something happen. They might approach you and then guess you're 50-50 on the K&K mix. They might duck the high if you try and do the high as a keep out. But what if you do no buttons? What if you just do Kempo and then you're back to neutral, Kempo, back to neutral? Think about all these situations you're avoiding, by the way. If they just do like a jab and you're close to them and you avoid their jab, you avoid that situation, you're back to neutral. And then you're playing the whole game based around this now. There's going to be a lot of times where they're plus and they expect you to go for this. You can just keep them out with basically any fast button. So a lot of the times when you're playing Leo, jab 2-1, down forward 1, maybe down forward 1-2, but obviously it's risky. Magic 4, Leo still has a Magic 4 count hit property. So still pretty strong. But yeah, mostly those moves and obviously the forward 2+3 as well, but you are obviously locked into a high attack that is evasive. If they call that out, it is what it is. That shouldn't stop you from using it because it is a built-in sidestep right and will avoid a lot of moves and can be better, matchup dependent because some moves track well to the right, in which case, this won't work well. That's just an idea of what I think is the best way to kind of play the neutral game of Leo. Like you definitely need to utilize back 3+4, like for sure. It's definite in this game. Some characters will deal with it better than most, characters with like running twos and stuff like that, they can be quite scary. But I mean, you can kind of get a read on them a bit easier because if you're at a certain distance where, you might do Kempo or they feel you might do Kempo and you anticipate they're running two, for instance, Claudio, Alyssa, these characters, then, you can go for the hard duck and most of the time you probably, predict correctly. So potentially get a full launch for that as well. But yeah, in terms of like Leo in general, character is solid as hell. Definitely a higher mid-tier character in my eyes. I did say top 10 a while ago, but I wouldn't, after playing against top players, I wouldn't really say that Leo is top 10 in my opinion. I think just below top 10. So what is it that is so good about Leo? I think the fact that the character has all these evasive stuff like Feng Wei is very strong. A lot of characters don't have that, which you have to bear in mind. Leo has a kick and punch parry. The parry does kick and punches at the same time. Not every character has that, which is very strong. A launching Sabaki, back 2+3. Obviously nerfed, but it can still do a job and OS some strings. Very, very strong. A reversal on punches that wall splats, to which you get, obviously, you can do a tornado with up 1. You can do block 1+2 into stomp, guaranteed. I think that's it for the most part. Side switching throw that wall splats on counter hit, very hard to break. So again, super strong. But yeah, okay, so what is it that stops people from countering Leo? Because obviously I put out a Leo guide, like how to counter Leo guide, and I'm sure quite a few people watched it and they've said that it helped them with the matchup and stuff, which is all good and stuff. But I do think something that you need to do with Leo is obviously if people commit to sidestep duck, down forward 2 is just going to stop that 99% of the time. Let's be honest, that's not a thing. But sidestep block is something that is super tricky to play against when playing Leo. And I feel like you have down forward 3 for the reason that, even though it's, -9, give away your turn, whatever, you need to do it because basically when you use that, your faster buttons that get sidestepped are going to obviously get sidestepped less, right? Because they're thinking, oh, you're going to go for a down forward 3 here, so I can't step. But if they do step block, this is what you need to understand, is that you have generic throws that are homing. And the thing that's so strong about that is that obviously on counter hit, and obviously this has been a thing since the game's release, right? So it's not like I've just given you some revolutionary tech or anything like that. But you need to use it with the purpose that, you know, people are step blocking. But then also when they do want to press into your plus frames and stuff, that throw is going to be a counter hit throw. So they might not be ready to break it. You know what I mean? So down, step blocking is strong, cool. But the more you're doing generic throw, and annoying them, probably the chances are your down four twos will probably hit more. Because obviously down four two is difficult to step block when the opponent is plus, right? So yeah, generic throws, generic lows. I think you really need to just take into account what it is that tracks. 2-1, second hit. If they step and don't commit to a sidewalk, you know, the 2-1 will snuff that. Even if they do commit to a sidewalk sometimes as well, the 2-1 will force them to block. So 2-1 fast string, you know, they're not going to be able to interrupt your plus frames. You're going to be able to manage what is going on in the match a little bit better because you're not randomly getting sidestep launched. And if you commit to certain moves, like let's say for instance, I do down 4 into down forward 2 because I don't think my opponent's going to press. So, or they might do a slow button, or they might duck, but they do a sidewalk and it beats the down forward 2 and they launch me. You know, this is a situation that like I'm unfamiliar. I'm not sure what my opponent's going to do, but I'm trying to force something, right? It's a fighting game, you know. You can play outside of frames. Frames are not everything. So cool. They commit to a sidewalk, they launch me. But what if I do a 2-1? Just a 2-1. And this is a small reward. And, you know, the down forward 2, if it launches, great, amazing. But what if I just do a 2-1? You know, cool. They block, I'm -7. I now play into that situation where I'm -7, you know. -7 is not the end of the world. You know, I've got a video talking about 2-1 as well. I'm not saying it's the greatest string in the world, obviously not. But if you done 1-2 in that same scenario where you instead of 2-1 they step, the 1-2 doesn't realign, you get launched. Same as down forward 2 on whiff. So these small things, I think that if you add to your game where you can kind of control and manage and see what's happening and play into consistent scenarios where, okay, cool, -7, but look, I have 4-2 plus 3, I have back Kempo, you know, I can down jab if they go for something really slow. If they jab, cool, you know, we're back playing Tekken again. It's not the end of the world. But one thing I think that changed from my gameplay in terms of like what made me consistent, in terms of, you know, winning set and resets and also getting top 3s quite reliably and stuff like this, is that like I started playing the less is more game. Like I started doing less things, but it was things that I was like, things that made me feel like I was in control of a match. So, you know, just poking, just doing QCF 2-1 and then chilling. Not going for a down back 3, not going for an evasive move, just QCF 2-1, see what happens. QCF 2, try and confirm the 4, you know, the new string that we have, QCF 2-4 into the legend kick. You know, I'll try and confirm that where I can. And then obviously QCF 1 is QCF 1. If I need a low, that's the low I'm probably going to go for. So just in neutral. Down 4, this move is just unbelievable. -11 has the follow-up. So they have to think about that. Most people obviously don't go for the follow-up. So people do tend to try and punish you. So letting the down forward 2 rip is not a bad strat as well. Overall, using more down forward 1. But when I do use down forward 1, I think about things like 2-1, just 2 by itself, because the hitbox is so good. And obviously a lot of things in this game, or in Tekken in general, high crush. Or like high evasion. High evasion is the key. So if I would do a single jab after a down forward 1, and obviously it's not the best option to go for after a down forward 1, but you know, it would get like that, the single jab would get bodied, but the 2 jab wouldn't. So just doing 2-1, it just, you know, keeps them honest, really. It keeps my opponent honest. You know, they can't just destroy me for going for it. So also one move that I've been using in particular to obviously catch people that like to sidewalk right in neutral, as in like, you know, nothing's happening and then they kind of see me approaching, they'll go for a sidewalk right. Forward 4 has been that move that kind of stops that. Not all the time, because they can step it to the right, but it's very difficult. It's much easier to go left. So forward 4 and forward 4-3, because, you know, if they're late on the whiff punish, or if they attempt to whiff punish, the follow-up will hit them, even though it's a high. So people don't really duck those, so they all end up blocking. Other than that, I think the biggest thing to take advantage of with Leo is something like up forward 1-1 and up 1 on Oki. I think these are key. So what happens here is that, like, if I do up 1 against my opponent, I'm -6. Their backs to the wall. Obviously, they have to think about my parries. They have to think about my evasive moves, things like that. But it's just a safe move to kind of throw out that isn't -9. So it doesn't give away my turn completely. So a move like up 1, in particular, I like to use it a lot after I go for like let's say Leo's spike combo. And that's just because I'm not using down forward 2 plus 3 yet. But I will start using that soon. I know a lot of Leos are using that now. They're doing stomp. Sorry, they're doing spike into down forward 2 plus 3 into, you know, better Oki than the stomp because of the stomp nerf and, you know, the combo damage nerf or whatever. But yeah, on Oki, I'll do up 1, it's safe. On counter hit, it wall splats. I believe it wall splats, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like it's a safe move. If they go for a slow low and I go for up forward 3, you know, that's potentially a free wall splat. If they go for slow mid, not slow, but like if they go for like a down forward 1, if they go for a down forward 4, any of that type of thing, then I have a parry that will wall splat. So that's something for the opponent to think about. So I don't mind putting myself into minor situations as Leo just because of that, you know. For the most part, they'll want to get away from the wall. And I can obviously, I can use that to my advantage, innit? Because then I can play off like faster buttons. Like I can do -6 into jab without really panicking because they're not going to just throw out a launcher or anything like that because it wouldn't make sense really. Like they can, but like what are the chances of them doing that? They're thinking about getting away from the wall for the most part. And I'm thinking about keeping them at the wall. So it's an interesting game. You'll notice that like people will step block all the time when their backs to the wall. So when it comes to minus frames, you can kind of use that to your advantage and mentally feel like you're plus, because it's very common for opponents to do that. And you do have access to down jabs as well if they do go for kind of Rago stuff. Yeah, if they go for Rago stuff, but you know, you have the parry and stuff. So them going for Rago things is less likely, you know, with their back to the wall. So something to think about. And Leo has so many wall splatting mids. You know, people have known this since Tekken 7. That's about as long as I've played Leo, so I don't know about anything further back. But yeah, Leo's wall game, for reasons that I've just mentioned, are absolutely insane. Lastly, I want to talk about Leo's kind of heat game and like how I've adapted my game to keep up with everyone, basically. So with heat moves, obviously most heat moves are very stupid, very annoying to deal with. Cool. Leo's in particular, so Leo has down back 2-4, hit confirm, and the reason I say hit confirm is because one, online, rollback will mess you up. Offline, you don't really get to practice it enough, so you don't really get into the habit of confirming it. So that is obviously a skill issue. I'm not gonna lie, it is. But yeah, like not having a place to practice that hit confirm is a bit shitty. But yeah, so down back 2-4, everyone knows about this. Very strong move. We have Vok 1+2, which is the power crush, and this is a move that I don't really know how to feel about it, to be honest. I like to use it in combos more than anything. Or it will be a situation where my opponent's waking up. Like let's say for instance, I'm looping the spike at the wall. Leo players, you would have seen me do it before. To those that are unfamiliar, basically when Leo does Vok 1+2, you can potentially loop it if your opponent stays on the ground, right? So when they eventually get up, I will then go for the heat dash because it does chip damage and will potentially put them in a last pixel situation. Depending on the situation, of course. Like if they have a lot of health, then I probably won't go for it. But yeah, so there's that. There's while standing 4, 1+2 as well. While standing 4, 1+2. Now this one, I think this is my favorite out of all of the heat engagers that Leo has, for the reason that it's so accessible. Like one thing that you seriously need in a game like Tekken 8 is a reliable heat engager that they can't really deal with, right? So let me just quickly mention back to 1+2 as well, because I want to like key these things together. So back to 1+2, you can rage art in between apparently. Obviously, I've only seen this off videos and stuff because it hasn't happened to me personally. But back to 1+2 can be rage arted in between. I don't know about power crush. I'm not sure about power crush. It can be parried is another thing, and basically this is something that has like kind of swayed me away from using it as much as just a throw out tool. So yeah, even if you're like plus, it doesn't matter, whatever, because they just block afterwards, and then you know they might parry, they might rage or whatever. So why while standing 4 1+2 is my go-to now. The follow-up is a shoulder, so if they block the while standing 4, there's no parries, there's no evasive moves, there's no rage. I'm gonna have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure can't be rage arted, can't be power crushed. They just have to block it. So what I will do is like down 1, like on hit, while standing 4 1+2, can't do nothing about it. Cool. Down 4 2+3, while standing 4 1+2 heat dash, can't do nothing about it. UCF1, and now this is for me this is the best one in my opinion, because well, it's not the best, but like it's the one that will land the most, and it's basically most people sidestep right against Leo, like always. Just they get in a habit, sides to right, sides to right, sides to right. And basically, let's say for instance you do down 1 while standing 4 1+2, UCF1 while standing 4 1+2. The opponent, because obviously down sides to right is Leo's weak side, they're just gonna go right, and the while standing 4 is going to hit them every day. I'm not sure about Lily and, you know, the characters with better sidestep evasion, but they will go right and they will get hit by the whole heat engager. And this heat engager has the potential to go from the ground to the wall with whilst in 1-4-1. Obviously, that is, you know, dependent on distance to the wall and all of them other factors and whatnot. But a lot of the time, that damage can be enough to, you know, win you a game. So whilst in 4-1+2, in my opinion, is the one that really kind of helped me get more success and a lot more wins against players that I would have been struggling with. So yeah, like without talking about the general, you know, gameplay of Leo and what it is I'm pressing that makes my gameplay work in this game, I'm just trying to basically explain some scenarios that I've changed. And like, because let's be honest, like before I was going for down back 2, and obviously if I commit to the down back 2-4, it gets dark, I get launched, and I'm not happy with things like that happening in a match, right? Like I'll still go for it, but like it can get you killed. Back to 1+2, you know, I mentioned the parry and all of that type of stuff. Bulk 1+2, if they commit to like a sidewalk and stuff, you know, it's not just gonna magically track. So yeah, while standing for 1+2, an I-11 while standing punish that you can just throw out is so accessible, and it really can make all the difference when your opponent has, you know, very low HP. So that is just the go-to. I can't really think of much counterplay against it, to be honest, other than obviously sidestep left. But you know, sidestepping left against Leo, not exactly advised. But yeah, for the most part, like I'll just find myself just in neutral. I'll just QCF whilst in 4-1+2 in heat, because it gives you that little chip, and then you can potentially, especially, you know, when the opponent's on low health, you know, I'll just go for it. But yeah, hope I've covered some like interesting scenarios, some interesting tools that Leo has, and you know, I hope you can get an idea of why it might work and what makes it so strong. You know, this is another one of them videos where I'm just rambling and stuff, but like, you know, I thought I wanted to put up a video because I haven't really put out a video that has been too insightful lately, so you know, I felt like I really needed to do one, so here we are. And yeah, if you like the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, I've been Io Richie, and I'll see you guys in the next one.